right, man. We'll get right into it, man. Here we go. Hey, welcome to another episode of the Blackout Tips podcast. I'm your host, Rod, joined as always by my co-host,
Karen.
And we're live on a Wednesday, wrapping up the week with one of our faves. You may know him from being a stand-up comedian, producer of shows, a booker, a writer, a co-host of Medium Popcorn Podcast, co-host of Drunk Black History. It is Brandon Collins. What's going on, man?
Hey, what's up, y'all? I'm happy to be here. I just hope I don't sweat too much because I'm still getting used to this California weather.
Yeah, what's the temperature out there?
Bro, it's like 80 something, but it feels like 110. Like I'm walking around, and the thing is, like I still got my New York leg, so I walk around LA a lot, and so because I sweat, I also look homeless. Because I'm black, I sweaty, I look homeless in LA.
Yeah,
so it's not the best.
Water. Because a lot of times the closer you are to the water, the temperature rises.
Oh, I don't know if there's water by me. There's a lot of cars. A lot of.
Do you drive? Can you drive?
I can drive. Yeah, I can drive.
Okay,
I can even drive. I could drive manual too.
Oh, you good. A lot of New Yorkers don't drive.
I can't drive manual.
Well, remember, I was raised in Michigan, so I was raised around a lot of white dudes that were like, "Hey, man, you gotta fill the car, so you gotta learn how to drive stick." I'm like, that sounds all kinds of homoerotic, but
yeah,
whatever.
In the way that it's hot right now, I honestly, all I got is just automatic at this point. Because even with the AC on, when it's 100 degrees outside, I don't want to be doing all that shifting and shit. It's too much.
Yeah, I know what people say about that, but all my family members that brag about shifting, guess what they did when they got old? They got a motherfucking automatic because they was like, my knees can't take that shifting shit.
Yeah.
Well, it's good to talk to you. It's good to see you. We saw you Saturday as well.
Yes, 3 guys on. Shout out to Randolph and Andy.
But you're out there on the West Coast, man. I know you've been kind of secretive about what you're working on, but you know, from my understanding, you moved to LA to direct your first adult film.
That's one of the side projects, right?
Yeah, how'd that come about?
Well, you know, you put some dick pics out on the internet, and sometimes someone will answer, and that's what happened. They were like, "Hey, we don't think that you got the equipment to be on screen, but how about you be behind the screen?" And I'm like, "Yeah."
Brandon is writing season 5 of Black.com.
All right, so
yeah,
she's gonna put a pinky in the booty, and then you. But yeah, I can't.
What's my character's motivation? I don't know that she would put a pinky up the booty. I mean, I need a little bit more.
I mean, what's her reason behind it?
Yeah, what's my motivation in this scene? Yeah, I can't say what studio I'm writing for, but I got into a program for a big Hollywood studio where I'm essentially going to be developing a lot of ideas, whether it's for the TV unit or feature unit. I'm primarily focusing on feature films, so I got to write at least 1 to 2 full-length scripts over the past year. A script, I mean, on average is around like between 90 and 115 pages. Yeah, so yeah, and then I got to do a bunch of stuff before that. Like I had to do a pitch today of an idea, which was nerve-wracking. I mean, man, it's like the worst because I have so much anxiety and I'm always second guessing myself. So to get in a room, like even with supportive people, it's still like, hey, this is like an idea I had in my most intimate, like, you know, personal moment brainstorming.
Is that size 14 font double space or is that single space?
That's single space. That's single space.
Do you have a new appreciation for this side of the business now? Because I think as a critic and especially as a fun, like, you know, Medium Popcorn is also funny. And so like, you know, you make jokes, you shit on people's stuff. Is, oh, how much dog shit is this? But then now on this side of things, are you gaining an appreciation for how fucking hard it is to even make a film?
I definitely am. And I think, you know, like, you know, I talked to Justin about this a little bit. I worry that it might change like my approach to the show just because, you know, like for instance, right. Again, I can't say the studio I'm working for, but one of the potential mentors I might have is a director for a bunch of movies we've shitted on the podcast. Right. And so I'm like, fuck, like I'm setting myself up for not the best, not the best networking. And again, like a Medium Popcorn, we do it all in jest. Like we never mean to offend anybody. I mean, sometimes people do get offended, but we really wholeheartedly do not mean to make anyone upset. but at the same time, we have said some fucked up shit about creatives.
Yeah.
But it's tough, man, because like Jesse T. Usher, right? We hate him on the show. But I went to South by Southwest and I went to a boys panel, and Jesse T. Usher answered my question. And so I'm like, I can't hate the guy 100% now. Like, it's like you started warming up.
It's also like subjective and stuff too, because like when you see it's a business, you realize like people are making business decisions.
Correct.
So like there's actors where in our minds we're thinking over here like, why do they always choose to be in shit projects? But we don't know what their choices are.
Yeah, you don't know what the agents
still do.
Bro, I mean, even people you would think anything they come up with will get greenlit. That's not even happening. Like J.J. Abrams just lost a TV show. Judd Apatow has to work really hard to get stuff. Spike Lee, like all these creatives have to work so hard to get any idea greenlit. It's not automatic like people just assume.
And those are people that at least when they get it greenlit, for the most part, you expect them to have like a ton of creative control. But I think, and you've got to be experiencing some of this, because I know I was experiencing this with game theory. When you're the person trying to pitch the idea to the people, it just stops being your baby at some point, because once other people become involved, it's like something you can think is like crucial to the humor of it. They could be like, not that part. And you're like, well, fuck, that was the whole idea. Like and they add their ideas, and sometimes it's a collaborative thing that makes you feel like enriched by it. But sometimes it's a process where you go, like, I bet you there are people who go to the theater to see the movie they wrote and go, this is not the shit I wrote. But
that is something I have some new mentors out here, and that's something they've been like really trying to get me to be comfortable with. Is like, kill your darlings. Like the one idea you're incredibly passionate about with, that probably won't be the one that the studio is like, yeah, we want you to write that one. It'll be the other one that you just thought up yesterday that's like a quick log line. It's tough, man. It's tough because right now, I'm very happy. Like a lot of my ideas are getting a lot of support, which I'm not used to. Especially, Rod and Karen, you've been followers of Media Pocket for a while. You all have heard my old scripts from college and stuff.
Yeah.
So to say the response from that was like less than encouraging is an understatement. So to get compliments from like studio people on like my writing and my jokes and stuff, it's been very bizarre. It's like before I can even get to like potentially someone taking my work and doing their own interpretation of it, I also have to just embrace getting positive feedback, which is like a really fucked up thing to do. So it's like a whole bunch of different emotions I've been feeling the past like month or so I've been out here.
Yeah, and for a lot of people, because a lot of people have experienced a lot of things in their life, and it's one of those things, particularly being Black and brown, you've been told no a lot. And so that's kind of something that, kind of an internal thing that you kind of have to get over. And then, a lot of times we deal with impostor syndrome, where you actually qualify, you actually could do the job, you actually could do the work, or else they wouldn't even looked at you in the first place. And you get into the room and then you guess, you're like, do I belong here? You almost feel like, do they see that I am actually 5 on the inside? Like, and things like that. You know what I'm saying? So I completely understand it, but it's one of those things where it's a good thing to be around people that support you and be in a positive environment, because that what really helps most people grow.
Yeah, I also very lucky at the studio. The people I directly work with are mostly people of color. So in talking to them about my background and stuff, it's not like white people feel very exploitative when I tell them about my background. They're like, oh, you grew up in the suburbs and like, you like this stuff, me too. And it's like, but you don't understand, as a Black kid, liking Dawson's Creek, liking Khakis, like listening to the Hanson CDs, you were a fucking pariah, right? By everybody. And so it's like, yeah, you might think this is cool now, but growing up, this shit was the worst, man. Like, because I was just being my authentic self. And the people were telling me like, well, we don't want you to be around us. So it's like, it took me so long to accept my authentic self versus trying to blend in with a certain group because I wanted friends and stuff like that, and acceptance. And so honestly, here, it's just weird.
And honestly, like, it's such a catch-22, right? When you're the quote unquote weird Black kid, because you can because one, at that period of time, it's your formative years, and any peer group you have is gonna like have negatives, right? It's gonna peer pressure you. They're gonna talk about you. They're gonna pick on you. And for some people, I think it's hard for them to understand that, like, at least within black people, picking on people is kind of like a love language, where it's like you really need to worry about black people when they stop picking on you. Because they actually don't fuck with you anymore. You know what I mean? Like
they cut off communication.
Like if you don't come over and they're like, "What's going on, fat boy?" or whatever, like it's a look like they just start.
That's a hell of a greeting.
Like you know what I'm saying? Like, "Oh, hey, shorty," or whatever.
Yeah,
the fuck.
you get nicknames.
If you just come over and they're just like, "Oh, hey, y'all, it's Brandon. What's up, man? All right, then, man. You have a good one." That's bad. Those motherfuckers do not like your ass.
That literally happened to me, like I think junior year in high school. So thanks, Rod, for bringing up.
That's when they stopped. Back when you was like in the Young Republicans Club or whatever, like that's when they was like, we don't fuck with this nigga no more.
Bro, I made an exec at the studio double over laughing because I told her about how my grandparents were Black Republicans and how even as like a young kid seeing a picture with them and Ronald Reagan at the inauguration, I was like, that don't feel right. That don't feel right. She just was laughing so hard. Bro. Like,
that's not in nobody else's living room.
Nope.
Exactly. That's what I'm like, man. Like I worked this out with therapy too. Like it's like yeah, I lived a life that like is not normal. That's not like not that there is a normal like life.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I have so many odd stories that people are just like, what the fuck? And I'm like,
well, the other thing too is like, if you hung out with white kids, you can like the shit they like, but then you become you're still the black kid to them. So it's just this weird catch-22 if you're like, quote unquote, the weird black kid, where it's like, you picked on for being weird when you were black people and the wrong kind of black. And with white people, it's like, even if they like you, they say weird shit like, you're good. You're different.
Yeah, you ain't like the rest of them.
No, when we say the N-word, we're not talking about you, Brandon. You're cool.
It's weird though, because like that still happens. Like my wife, Tatiana, she'll get some comments like that from like some of her Hispanic friends who will be like, "Oh, but like I'm talking about black people, but Brandon's not like that."
Right.
That kind of thing. She's very defensive about that. She's like, "I don't play that shit."
Right.
Like I love her. Like she's always doing that. But yeah, growing up, it was tough to like figure out what my identity was because like I was too black for the white kids a lot of times, and also too poor for a lot of the white kids. But then I was too corny and too white for the white kids. I got called Oreo a lot growing up, and I think that's like coming. I'm able to talk more about that experience, like in my writing. Like that's the stuff that the studio is like, oh yeah, we want to hear more stories about that. I think it's a little bit easier now for like quirky black kids growing up because they got. You have a lot more representation. You have like John Boyega and Star Wars. You have Jordan doing his shit. You got Atlanta. Like there's weird blackness, right? That's like,
and there's like a level of, for white people, it's funny because there's like a level of familiarity and safety that they think they have with like, oh, this is the quirky black kid who kind of had it rough with other black kids, so then we can trust them. And then then Donald Glover comes out with season 3 of Atlanta, and they're like, oh god damn, this nigga hate us too. So it's like a real fine line between what they find acceptable and what they find kind of scary because I remember when Donald Glover came out with Camp, and I would listen to that album, and it got like a real negative review from
low scores
from what's the name of that white people publication that does music reviews?
Rolling Stone?
Not Rolling Stone. It's Pitchfork.
Yep, that's it.
So Pitchfork gave it like the lowest score it's ever given an album or whatever. And
really?
Yeah, and I listened to it and was like, this is actually pretty good. But most importantly, what I took away from it was like, oh, he's the black kid that they thought was like safe, and
it was hella
didn't think about race. Like to them, they were like, if he does think about race, it's just I wasn't cool enough for black people. It's never. Well, actually, white people, y'all have some bullshit about y'all too, and I want to talk about it because it's my turn to talk about my life. And you could feel the rejection of that. Like, oh no, go back to being Troy from fucking Community.
We don't want to hear that. And also something I want to say to Brandon, I'm glad that you are at a place in your life where you are comfortable talking about that, because this is something that me and Roger talked about. I had a privilege of being dark and being around niggas and black people and knowing I was a nigga, and I didn't have to go through questioning my identity, if that makes sense. Yeah. So to me, when I got older and got on the internet, and I was thinking, because I love black people, and so it didn't matter what the fuck you was in, I loved you. Like, I mean, like, we cool. I ain't give a fuck if you, whatever it is you like, you black, you won't talk shit about me, we cool. But I didn't realize that other people had a completely different experience. So when I got online and people were talking they was talking. They was like, well, black people didn't like me. I was thinking, but you a nigga. But I had to understand my privilege. Like their journey was not like mine, but I would never question their blackness. But to them, their whole life was questioning who they are, what group did they represent? Because in America, you almost got to choose, regardless of how you feel. Even though people going to be colorblind, fuck the bullshit. America going to make you pick a group. And so you're going to have to decide what you are.
Shit, you don't even really, they're not making you pick. They pick it for you.
Yeah,
that happens too. Like, I didn't.
People that it's like, you can be biracial and people will be like, but you look blank. That's just what the fuck you gonna be unless something else happened.
Yeah, I think for me it was like I didn't organically ever have black friends until I got to junior year in high school, right? Like it was always kind of like my mom would try to put me with other black kids, like with other black moms, to like have me socialize. But it wasn't until junior year I got my first real close black friend, Baron. Shout out to Baron Slade. He's a DJ out in Chicago. And he actually had the biggest impact on my whole adolescence because he introduced me. And I know we feel a certain type of way about it right now, but he introduced me to Kanye West's College Dropout album. And for me as a kid that like never quite connected with hip hop like the way that others did, when I heard that album, I was just like, I remember like getting teary eyed, being like, who is this? What is this? I need you to take me to their like record store right now. Like
that's why people love Kanye.
Yeah, it was huge.
Yeah, a lot of people underestimate people's love for that man because a lot of people feel in that group where they were like, I love rap, but I'm not like hardcore gangster shit. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't love that life, but the shit that he's talking about, I feel that.
Yeah, that Genius documentary was so good. It
was really good.
And so timely, man. Because I like it's something I've been talking about with Kanye for a long time that I think people don't want to admit about Kanye, where they just do this revisionist history where he was always like a coon and no one ever really liked him and he was always talking da. And when you go back and look at that, it really, the main thing I think it really shows is how much people felt hurt and somewhat betrayed by the fact that, in my opinion, his bipolar got so out of control that he was saying stuff that I don't even think he believes that stuff.
Well, the fame too, it's just got him to, that makes, especially black artists, that makes them have breakdowns, man. Like on top of losing his mom, on top of marrying a Kardashian, which for me, I was like, that's going to end terribly. Like, even if he does love this woman, that's going to end really bad.
So like, I think, being arrogant, famous, stuff like we've seen that before, but this is so, to me, what happened to him is such a like, a cautionary tale about mental illness and especially people that don't understand bipolar disorder. They think that the mania part of it is like you just being a jerk, but it's like no, they like their mind is tripping on endorphins and chemicals and shit that like the stuff that we think we're taking at face value, like when he said slavery was a choice. That's not something he would say if he was medicated. And he's telling you right now, I'm not on my meds. I don't plan on ever going back on my meds. This is how I make great music. We're all listening and going, the music's not great. In his mind, it is. So like there's a disconnect that's happening. But I think mostly black people, a lot of black people felt hurt by him and expressed it. Instead, they expressed like anger and like, fuck that coon. But really, it's like, this is anger is sadness. Anger is sadness that has no place to go. And so it's just like, fuck him. I'm mad at it. I don't even listen to his music no more. And it's like, I don't know. I hear a dude that needed some help and didn't take it and didn't help himself,
No. I just realized I haven't heard Donda 2 yet.
Yeah.
He released it on that player thing, and I just but College Dropout, I'll still never. I mean, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fan is actually my favorite Kanye album. I think top to bottom, best production. Dang. I think Lost in the World is the best. I thought Last Call was the best closer I ever heard on an album ever, and then he did Lost in the World. I'm like, this is such a beautiful song, and when you see the Coachella performance, it's one of the best performances I've ever seen. Like like obviously I wasn't there, but I can't deny Kanye's impact. I think episode 2 of Yeezus was phenomenal. Like Genius was phenomenal.
Yeah.
I think showing how much he had to fight for the college dropout to even just get released. Bruh. Right, and like Dame Dash and them clowning him and shit. Like, and I'm like, that's why I connected with this nigga, because that was me. Like all my growing up, like people doubting you, people saying like, oh, you're not really about this life, or you're not really that talented, or like just stay in your fucking your corner, right? And I'm like, that's why people fucked with Kanye. That's why people really appreciated what he brought to the table.
He called it from jump, like from jump, he was like, no, I'm that dude. I'm the next dude. Y'all just not hearing me. Wait, if you let people hear this, I promise you, you'll recoup your investment. And they were like, nah, it can't be that. And then how much work he put in, the paces he put in on the ground level, making other people's beats and all this shit. And he's telling them like, I'm a better rapper than even these beats I'm giving y'all. And they did not believe him. Yep. It's so crazy to watch it. And I mean, honestly, at that point, the arrogance, whatever you want to call it, has to be solidified, because he was right. And there's nothing, to me, on a personal level, there's just nothing more empowering than I was right and all you niggas was wrong. You're not gonna be able to tell me shit for a while.
Well, I mean, he literally has a song called "Can't Tell Me Nothing." But that's the thing, though, is like, if he didn't have that arrogance, right? Like, we wouldn't have Kanye. Like during the journey to get the college dropout made, like you said, Rod, he was still producing beats. He's like, I should be focusing on my album 24/7, but I gotta make more money because the studio refuses to get me a budget for this and let me do this music video. And it's like, like if he didn't have that confidence, he would have just given up, and then we would never gotten some of these classic albums.
Yeah, man, it's amazing. So how long until you like really get on before you pull a Kanye? Like, are you planning on, you know what I'm saying? Like 3 studio movies.
When your college dropout movie happening?
3 studio movies, and you're gonna be like, listen, slavery was a choice. I see it now.
No, I'm plus as I have an amazing wife, Tatiana, who is not afraid to check me. So she would stop me before I say anything like that to fuck up the bag. She would be like, nope, pull his mic.
So the first,
go on mute. Like, if I'm in a certain mood, she'd be like, don't do it.
Why is he yelling off Mike?
So basically the first sign will be if Tati leaves. That'll be the first sign.
Bro,
and she packs up and leaves.
Because like with Kanye, like he like the black girl that he was dating, they broke up, and that was like the first sign that it was about to go down. So we gotta watch your Instagram and Facebook posts. Bro, now.
If I get famous and then for whatever reason Tatiana and I break up, right?
Yeah,
I'm gonna be like, I'm already like, she's been gone for 2 weeks in LA. Like, she went back to New York, and I've been losing my mind. So imagine me famous with like a lot of money. I'm gonna be on like late night shows talking about all like the different celebrity booty I've been eating, and I'll talk about who got the tasty booty or not. And Jimmy Fallon just gonna be staring at me like, Brandon, like, this is NBC. Like, you can't do it.
Tatiana gonna be back on the market. They gonna look at her Instagram. All the pics of y'all gonna disappear. That's how you know it's official. That's the status is gonna be like, it's complicated.
Yeah, I'm on Instagram live in the shower just crying.
Yeah. It's like that episode. You ever see that episode? Do you watch Rick and Morty?
Yeah, of course.
Hey, you ever see the episode for Interdimensional Cable, the first one, where
with the different channels? Yeah.
They had to keep the other ones occupied because they were so concentrating on themselves. Rick gave a headset to Beth and Jerry and Summer that showed them different realities for themselves.
Yeah.
And like there was mad realities where they didn't even have Summer. But one of the realities was Jerry became a big star and famous and was on the late night show.
Yeah.
And he went crazy, like cut his hair in half, ran down the street naked. The cops were chasing him. He knocks on the door and it opens up and it's Beth. Like that's gonna be Brandon if Tati leaves. Is gonna be like, yo, did you hear that story about Brandon running down the street? He got tased. He cut half his hair off on his head for no reason.
Tatiana gonna be putting them pics out in the streets.
Well, how was like having Tati out there, and Like, did she help with the move? Did she coming out there permanently?
Yeah. She helped me like get settled here. You know, like I kept hearing different things about moving to LA. Like some people were like, "Oh, it's gonna take you a while to find a place." Some people were like, "You're gonna find a place immediately. Be ready to move on something." A lot of people were like, "You're gonna have to get a car." Some people were like, "You don't need a car." And so she was just here to help me figure all that out. The downside is I found an apartment 2 days in LA, but I had booked a non-refundable Airbnb that apparently was in the hills for 2 weeks. So I took a big L on that because the Airbnb host did not want to refund me the difference, which was, and it was an isolated place too, where I couldn't get cars to pick me up to take me to the studio. And it's too far for me to even try to walk. Like as much as I like walking, like it would have taken me 7 hours just to get down the hill. And so it's like, yo, like I can't even stay here for the rest of 2 weeks. Like if I want to push the move-in date to the end of my Airbnb date, that doesn't make sense because it's going to take me so much. It's going to take me so long to get to the studio and do what I got to do and get back. Like it's just.
And let me guess, they didn't tell you about the construction that was blocking the street.
Nope. Oh, did you see my tweets about that, Rod?
Yeah.
There was construction from 7 a.m. to 3:30, and she didn't tell us that. And so, like cars were coming to pick me up to take me to work, and they're like, "Yeah, I'm going to cancel because I can't even get up the road." And I'm like, "Whoa." You know what I mean? It's wild out here, man. Like, there's been some really nice people I've met, and there's been some real assholes. You know, you're in you're in a morally compromised place when the homeless people are nicer than some of the people you just meet in regular establishments and restaurants and stuff.
What about so are you like seeing LA people like when you go to the studio and all that stuff? Is it like different than just the culture of New York?
Like you mean like celebrities and stuff like that, or just
celebrities, people you're working with, people that's trying to come up in the game? Like I know in New York, there's like a lot of stand-up culture, a lot of people trying to do stand-up. I heard in LA, it's a lot more like people trying to sell shows. Stuff like that.
It's a lot more writer-driven out here than it is in New York. Stand-up shows are pretty spaced out, from what I understand. So stage time's a little bit rarer than it is in New York. In New York, if you really want to, you could probably do 5 shows a night, even without the clubs, right? Like that's how many shows are running. I'm slowly getting the lay of the land in regards to stand-up world, but I have been very lucky. Like since I've been in LA, I've met a bunch of amazing people that I admire. My second week here, and shout out to Lucas Brothers, who were nominated for Best Adapted Screenplay for Judas and the Black Messiah. They invited me to a table read of their script that they wrote for Judd Apatow. Now, I went to the table read. I'm like, yeah, I bet it's at 10 a.m. I can do it. I don't got nothing to do for studio today. And I'm sitting in this room. It's still empty because I'm there like 13 minutes early, which apparently in LA is blasphemy. And I got Judd Apatow's Sicker in the Head book in my backpack, which I'm reading about like these interviews with writers. And I'm looking at it and like glancing at Lucas Brothers' script. And this guy comes up to me. He's like, "Hey, I'm Judd." And I look up and it's Judd Apatow. I'm like, all right, well, this is week 2. This is week 2. Yo, it was. I got to meet Judd Apatow. I sat next to Justin Simien, who did Dear White People. On the table read, we had the homie who plays Bubbles from The Wire. We had Eric Griffith. We had Pete Holmes. Like, I was just like, yo, this is the. I felt so bad because I'm like telling my wife, I'm like, I'm living my best life out here.
Yeah,
like, this is the best. This is the best life ever. And so,
how it goes. Yeah. Well, she at the house.
Yeah, she's in my little studio apartment here in LA, like on video calls all day that she hates. And I'm just like over there meeting my heroes and shit.
Yeah, that's dope.
It's been really dope. Like the people I have gotten to meet and the people that I've been told I'm going to meet, just I could have never imagined like this would happen, especially given like where my career was going. Like I was very much like full-time in education, and then I would dabble in producing live comedy events and podcasts and stuff. But I never thought that it would flip and that would become the full-time job.
Well, speaking of which, you're still producing events, and coming up this week, you have Drunk Black History in like 2 different locations, like coming up. Like, what's going on with that?
Yeah, man, I'm going to be bouncing around for the next few days. So we have early Juneteenth celebrations this weekend for Drunk Black History, which is a show where we highlight historical Black people or events that aren't in mainstream history that people don't really know about. We drink while we do because, unfortunately, for Black people, our history is rather painful. So you kind of have to figure out a way to get through that. So yeah, we're in DC on Friday, June 17th at the DC Arts Center at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But it is sold out. We will have like standby tickets, but yeah, that one's sold out. And then Saturday, June 18th, we're going to be in New York City at the Chelsea Music Hall, and that's going to be live streamed as well. It starts at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Doors open at 7. We still have in-person tickets, so definitely buy those. But we also have a live stream link up and running. The crazy thing about the New York one, I'm not going to like talk too much about like our lineup, but one of the guests is my RA from freshman year in college, and so.
Shout out to RA. I was RA.
Oh, y'all have a call? RA got their own sorority.
That's a special club, trust.
Yeah. I'm worried though because he saw me he saw Brandon like unhinged. Brandon just coming from the suburbs, now in New York City, no adult supervision. Like he saw me do some wild shit. And I'm worried he's going to bring up some of it on Saturday.
Oh no!
If he remembers, I'm sure he does remember because like I did some wild shit.
I'm sure Gordon will be encouraging him to. So those stories are going to come out. I mean, that's the thing. Drunk Black History is such a great show. I've been to one in person.
You've been on one?
I've watched a few online, and I've been, and Karen and I presented at one of. The first one they did like a Zoom for, I think you were there.
The first virtual Zoom Juneteenth show 2 years ago.
Yeah. So there's the greatness of Drunk Black History. Either you're gonna learn something that you never knew historically, like you're gonna learn about an event, a person, something. And if you do not do that, you will then learn something embarrassingly personal about Brandon or Gordon or whoever the guest is on stage. Like one way or another, you will be entertained.
You'll be learning something.
Yeah, it's like, oh, this nigga got arrested for a parking ticket. I didn't have that on my fucking list of things.
That went on a bingo card.
Yeah, when I was looking at the lineup for Drunk Black History, I didn't expect to learn that happened, you know?
You know what's so interesting that you say that, Ryan? It's like that's something that I've really, I've been listening back at like old shows because we also have the audio released in the podcast format after like a few months after the show. And I'm like, yeah, like we do get really personal on it. Like I'm incredibly vulnerable at the Drunk Black History shows. And I know a lot of times that vulnerability I can twist into comedy.
Right.
But I told audience members after the last show you saw in February, right? I was like, I'm willing to be vulnerable out there because I'm representing people in the audience that are too afraid to be like, I don't know what you're talking about, or this is like this, right? And then people are like, why are you bringing up this white corny shit? Like, no, that's not what the divine nine is not like the sorting hat for Hogwarts. And I'm like, I'm trying to be funny, but also like genuinely curious and like relating it to what I know, right?
So this happens. This is one of the keys of interviews. Like this happens all the time here. You know shit if you do your research or whatever, right? And I would imagine for y'all, I've never even seen y'all's process, but my guess is y'all kind of have to know what the people are going to talk about so that if they get too drunk, y'all can just take over.
Yes.
And of course, part of that is the magic trick of I know something and I know what the answer is, but I have to ask the question like I don't know. So you can give the audience the answer in the way that you would like to. Kind of like how I knew there was traffic on that Airbnb street and you had to move. Yeah. I didn't want to be like, sir, you had to move, right? Like it's like, oh, let me finesse this in here. And it feels like a more organic story or whatever. And that's kind of like the thing I've seen y'all do with Drunk Black History, because to me it's so crucial that y'all have to know that shit because people are getting drunk. And by the time you get to the last couple of people, some of these people have been drinking for like 30, 40 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
And they just come out there like, I'm here, y'all. What's up, everybody? Start doing their comedy bits.
And who was I talking about?
Yeah. So you have to know.
Yeah, I mean, we've had one or two guests on the show that clearly just had no idea what they were talking about. But there's one situation I'm sure she'd be cool with me talking about because she's also sober and I'm happy for her. Amina Amani was close out one of our virtual shows. And she had told us the different person that she had in mind. So we thought we were going to talk about we were going to talk about one of the Black Panthers.
Yeah, it was like Hugh P. Newton or something, or Fred Hampton.
Fred Hampton, right? Might have been Fred Hampton, yeah. And then she was like, "Oh no, I meant this nigga, and it's like some preacher dude. I'm like, who's that? Like Gordon and I are like, we can't even look that up. Like, we
don't know. Ready.
Yeah, because she's looking.
Can't fact check this. Abort.
Yeah,
like she's just like.
She wanted to talk about a whole different Hampton, like
John Hampton,
like John Hampton or something. But she was like ready to go with facts for John Hampton. But even then, the facts were kind of like
they weren't
nebulous.
Great.
Like,
yeah,
they didn't
they didn't line up. Nope.
She was hammered, and then she's just like, "Oh, I don't know who this person." Oh shit! And there was like Gordon and I weren't in the same room too, so we're both like, like. And then
she was so getting mad at people like trying to correct her and help her. She was like, "No, fuck that. I know what I'm doing. I did the research." It's like, you did not do the research on this guy though.
Nope. It was rough. But fortunately, in person, everyone usually comes like knowing some stuff, right? Like occasionally someone will have to pull out their phone and pull up their notes, but for the most part, people come up and Gordon and I can help weave the narrative, because Gordon, like the one thing I love about working with Gordon on the show is he has an insane amount of knowledge about Black history and about Black people that he's able to just recall random shit. Whereas for me, I have to study this stuff, right? Like I got to study these people and try to remember key things that are important for the audience to know. Whereas Gordon just has random facts and like little details.
Gordon is so sneaky. He's so sneaky smart.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Because he hides it. He said he hides it. Like he said during the show, he's like, I used to pretend that I didn't know stuff so I wouldn't be in the advanced class.
Yeah. Because like he'll hit you with some wild style like comment or ad lib that you're like, oh, this motherfucker just be talking. And then he'll hit you with like some factual shit wherever like you like, I need to Google this and oh, it's correct.
That again?
That is that is right. Okay, well damn, Brandon, Gordon, which one is it? But nah, he's like that's always cool because it's kind of like if you ever watch kung fu movies back in the day, they had the art of drunken like fist. Where you had that motherfucker that they fighting and stumbling and shit. You start thinking, I'm gonna whoop his ass, and it's like, oh, this is part of the fighting. Is me thinking that this motherfucker is drunk and he's steadily whooping my ass all night. So yeah, I love it.
It's funny you mentioned that. One of the ideas I pitched to the studio. Well, I'm going to pitch to the studio in a few weeks. No one take this idea. All right. When I was 17, I went with my friend Sean to Vegas with his family. His parents were celebrating their anniversary. And one of his cousins looked like a Black Napoleon Dynamite. And Sean, before he introduced me to Jason, he's like, yo, this nigga just got kicked out of ninja school. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah. He's like, yeah, his mom had sent him to California to go to ninja school. And then like he got kicked out like 2 weeks in. And so I'm like, I have to talk to this nigga now. And so I'm like teasing him. And I keep making fun of him. And I'm like, so why'd you get kicked out of ninja school? And he's just like, oh, my sensei said I wasn't ready. They want to give me the throwing darts. And I'm like, how is this nigga real? Like he was so crazy. Like we went to a vampire strip show and he's 21, right? And so like Sean and I are 17. We shouldn't even be in this place. And I'm like, hey man, can you give me a drink? He's like, no, I refuse. And I was like, all right, well now this is gonna be lame because we're with Black Napoleon over here at a strip show. And then this woman comes up and she's just beautiful. She got her boobs out and everything. I'm just like, horny Brandon. I'm like, that's fantastic. And then Jason looks at me, he's like, I like her feet. And I was like, what? And so I was so mad. I was so mad after the show because he didn't help us get a dance from the stripper. Right. He didn't get us alcohol. So we're in the taxi on the way back to our casino hotel. And I'm fucking with him again about being a ninja or whatever. I'm like, what's the difference between crouching tiger and praying mantis or whatever? Right. And he's just like, well, praying mantis is when you strike your opponent, blah, 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 blah. And then he's like, and crouching tiger is, and he chopped me in the neck. Like he chopped me in the neck. And it was like, oh, well played, nigga. Well played.
Well, also that's like my worst nightmare it's kind of like when I back in the late 90s, early 2000s, when MMA was coming into style, but not MMA as we know it now, where they look like athletes. Right. But the first MMA where people look like they got off of work at 5
still had bellies, little pop belly.
They got off of work at 5 at Lowe's, and then they just like showed up to fight somebody at 9 on ESPN 7 or whatever. And I saw a couple of those fights where like some regular Whole Foods looking nigga just broke somebody's arm, and it just changed my entire approach to life. Like, I just didn't fuck with people. Like, you know, you be at a basketball court or something, and you think like, man, I'm gonna whoop this nigga's ass. I'll be like, I don't know. Maybe he's one of them people that knows how to break my arm. You might know how to break my arm with a pinky, and now I look like a bitch, so I don't want to fight him anymore. And I would imagine that Napoleon Dynamite Black Ninja nigga would scare the shit out of me about black nerds. Then I'm like, I don't want to fight them either.
Yeah. So my idea is taking that guy, Jason, but then putting him back in his neighborhood, like he returns back to Michigan and he becomes a vigilante. I think it'd just be hilarious. Like this black ninja vigilante.
You gotta make him do ninja shit though. Like, I'm gonna need
fade into the shadows.
Like, I'm gonna need special effects budget a little bit. Like, you don't gotta be like Marvel movie, but I need you to do that shot where like somebody stands on the other side of the street and you like make eye contact, but then when you look back, like a bus passes and they're gone. You know
yeah.
Like, what the fuck was that?
And that's just Jason's relationship with the love interest in the movie. That's not even him.
Yes.
Like, he goes, I like your feet, and then she disappears behind a bus.
Yeah, you got to do the heavy breathing too. The heavy breathing comes in at the top.
It'll be like Napoleon Dynamite meets Blake Man meets fucking
nigga ninja or whatever you gotta call it. It'll be amazing.
Oh, that'd be so crazy. But that was a.
So how do people get tickets to Drunk Black History or online and stuff?
Folks can go to drunkblackhistory.com. The tickets for the New York in person and live stream are available in there. You can also check out the YouTube page if you want to get an idea of what the show's like. Past recordings are up there right now. But yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun, man. Like this New York show, I'm excited about it. We're doing something different in the middle. It's similar to what we did in February with the bartending class, but it's gonna have its own spin on that. And the homie Courtney Farrington's gonna be owning that segment.
Oh,
so yeah. So we're excited about the show. It's exhausting. I'm not gonna lie. Putting this show together is incredibly exhausting. That's why like people are like, why don't you do it monthly? I'm like, y'all have no idea how much work goes into this show. Like, just booking it, sometimes it's hard because I have to have phone calls and stuff.
And also, like, right now, with it being like this weird place where we're in a pandemic, not really in a pandemic, kind of in a pandemic, for people that's vaccinated, kind of not, kind of, you know, so like where it's all over the place. And like, you know, every day there's like a different report. Like, I saw one today that said, the spike was going down, which is like such great news to hear. But my point being, it takes like a leap of faith to plan some shit right now, 2-3 months out, like it's gonna happen. Like, there's always a feeling in the back of my mind where it's like, I mean, I could plan this shit for September, or September find out everybody we closing it back down, or you know,
but that's just a chance, you know, you have to take. And it's one of those things of, like you say, it is a weird spot because people are out, people are moving around. Everybody, you know, people are less likely to stay in the house now, you know, and sometimes I know with me and Roger, we're overly cautious. I'm like, nigga, this let me be the last person to take my mask off. Cool. You know, but for a lot of people, they're like, it's back to normal. Yeah. So it's just, like I said, my point being like, coming off the last 2 years, there's a little bit of planning PTSD. Like, it's a little bit for me anyway. We're like, are we gonna be able to fly in December? I hope so. I'm gonna go ahead and book this ticket. Nobody do nothing crazy, okay? Let's everybody calm the fuck down. And then, you know, I remember going to New York. It was mandatory. You had to wear a mask on a plane. You know, coming back, it was not mandatory anymore. But if I would have left like a week before that, it would have been mandatory. It's like everything's kind of up and down right now, but I'm glad to see that like the plan is working out. I think people are showing up, because like I said, it's not even just a plan of like me personally. Like Karen was bringing up, like, oh, we're cautious. That's not what I'm worried about. I'm saying if I plan some shit and motherfucking monkeypox come out or some shit, now I'm like, oh fuck! But I didn't know the monkeypox was coming. I hope we don't have 7 people show up. You know?
Well, you know, it's also like the domestic terrorism shit that like puts me on edge too. It's like, because I remember something happened in Boston right before our February show, and I was genuinely like worried. I'm like, yo, motherfuckers might buy tickets to the show and then
Yeah.
Shit, like, because people are offended by the idea of drunk Black history or whatever, right?
Right. Yeah.
Because we're not in New York anymore, and so I'm like, that's the kind of stuff now that we're on the road more. That I'm thinking about, like, where can we go that's safe, that won't be infiltrated by people that might want to fuck shit up because there's Black people.
Drunk Black history, South Carolina and shit.
Like, yo, if a motherfucker's driving to a grocery store that he knows is predominantly Black, has Black clientele, Drunk Black history gets like mentioned in several publications. Like, yeah, it'd be easy for someone to be like, "Oh yeah, just go to this thing." I'm sure there'll be some niggas
exactly. No, there's. I mean, like I said, it's like a weird PTSD, like, and fighting through it and stuff, and I'm glad to see you making it happen because I think the show is so great. It's a
lot of fun.
It's so fun to attend. It's so fun to be a part of, and even watching virtually, man, it's still fun. Tati is always running the Zoom, and she's in the chat, and
interacting and things.
Yeah, and I always see our fans in it and stuff when we're in there. So shout out to the Blackout Tales fan base because I know they come through.
Absolutely. They come through for Drunk Black History and Medium Popcorn. I appreciate y'all, man. Like,
absolutely, man. Absolutely.
Yeah, we love y'all.
One of the things I like about having you on the show is because you come through often enough that we can actually talk about news and regular pop culture topics and stuff. So let's get into some of these topics, man. Let's start with the news. They are going to start. The WHO, World Health Organization, is gonna rename monkeypox virus.
I saw that. Yeah.
Because I guess this could count as fucking with Black people because they said it is definitely like aligned inaccurately with Africa, and it leaves room for discrimination, and which clearly happened when monkeypox was first found in this latest iterum, and it was found in like European countries with white people. And all the pictures online were pictures of little Black hands, like Black and brown babies with like pustules on their hands and shit. And they were like, "What the fuck is this?" It's like monkeypox is back. Look at these Black people, y'all. And it's like those Black people don't have it. No, what are you doing right now? So I think they're gonna change the name of it. And also they're worried. Yeah, go ahead, Brandon.
Another animal?
I was just gonna say our priorities are so fucking wild, man. Like the fact that they're spending time thinking about that because people are stupid enough to immediately associate monkeypox with Africa and Black people, and
see,
not being like
furthest thing from my mind.
Yeah, exactly. But that's because we Black. We not think. We're not thinking about that.
I just go, that shit gonna kill you. Monkeypox, chickenpox. I just go, that just name the shit after animals.
One is interesting. Chickenpox isn't associated with Black people because you would, but they might change monkeypox to watermelon pox, which is probably going to have the same effect. That's not good enough. I think they should change it to something. But they may call it, it's also called MPXV. So they may call it something like that.
Sounds like a Sega system.
Sound like a model of a BMW. I'm good.
Honestly, though, real talk, I think they should call it nigga pox. And the reason I think this is because it's like how when you name a hurricane after a man, people get scared of it, but if you name it after a woman, people stay. I think if you name it nigga pox, people will stop catching it, especially these white people. They'll be like, oh, you got the nigga pox. I don't want you coming to the party. You see what I'm saying?
And you know what? I just not thinking about that. Yeah, and then the ones named after women are the ones that be tearing shit up. There's a hurricane called Karen, and she came through and fucked the building. The people was like, I'm gonna stay, and Karen was like, oh, word.
Right, because people stay. Reports of monkeypox in semen has prompted a WHO investigation as well.
In semen?
Yeah.
Who's semen?
Yeah, how are they finding that?
So monkey semen? What's happening here?
Who's coming in cups for them to study monkeypox?
Come on, that's what I want to know.
Probably people with them bumps on their hands. The possibility for disease could be sexually transmitted. So they said they're gonna look into that. The agency reiterated the virus is mainly transmittable through close interpersonal contact. Many of the monkeypox cases confirmed in the current outbreak largely centered in Europe among sexual partners who've had such close contact. But in recent days, scientists have detected viral DNA in the semen of a handful of monkeypox patients in Italy and Germany, including a lab-tested sample that suggested the virus found in the semen of a single patient was capable of infecting another person and replicating.
Holy shit.
So it could become an STD.
Oh,
So did this all start from what I think it did with the name Monkey in the title?
Nah, I don't think so. I doubt that.
I'm like, where did this come from?
I mean, that's that rumor that AIDS started that way, right?
Is there vaccines for this shit? People just not taking them, or
I believe there was a vaccine for it, and people stopped taking it.
Of course,
let me.
That's what we do. That's what we do as people.
Yeah.
We're just like, oh, fuck the science. We don't need it.
Now I gotta go after my monkeypox shot.
Yeah, it doesn't. The monkeypox does not come from monkeys. It's called monkeypox because it was first isolated from a monkey in Africa. But the reservoir for it is in rodents. So someone must have fucked a rat.
Oh.
I don't think anyone had sex with the animals, y'all.
I mean, no. This country does have crazy priorities, because I just saw on my walk over here, Biden's like releasing like another $1 billion for Ukraine, and I'm like, I just heard a podcast the other day where the WHO and like other health organizations are saying, yeah, the US, like, they don't have enough money for like boosters in the fall or some shit. I'm like, what? Like, what?
Yeah, what it's funny because so the reason that happens is when it comes to like the war budget shit, the president can like authorize money for that, but like when it comes to the health shit, that has to be authorized through Congress and the Senate. And Republicans have decided they are no longer going to supply any money towards helping people get through COVID, through the pandemic.
Nope, nothing else free. Eventually you have to pay for the shots or run it through your insurance company.
Yeah,
they're like, no,
it's crazy. It's really crazy and fucked up that there's at least 50, if not 52. Shout out to Cinema and Mansion. People that are supposed to be protecting our country who are just like, y'all on your own with that COVID shit. I don't know what you're looking at me for. You know, like, what? This is your job.
Yo, motherfucking job.
Like, that's so crazy.
They don't care because they're getting funded by, you know, health insurance companies that have lobbyists and like all these things. Like,
yeah,
it sucks because the older you get and the more if you get older, but you also keep pushing yourself to learn, the angrier you get, I think, about just how the world works.
Yes.
Like the more, that's why I try not to pay attention to this shit, because I know too much about how this stuff works that it's just like, it's all fucked. Like, you know what's going to happen in the end of this year. Republicans are going to win back the House, probably the Senate, and then Biden ain't going to be able to do shit. Everyone's going to hold him accountable for that, which they should in some respects. But then depending on what happens in 2024, a Republican's going to get in there, and then all the shit's going to go to hell. For anyone that's not a white male Republican, this is going to be a bad time.
The thing for me, though, that's crazy is as I'm getting older, I'm a little bit older than you. As I'm getting older, I'm cutting way less slack for the like, we were just angry, so we let Republicans have it, people.
Yeah.
I hate them more than Republicans.
I don't respect you.
Because like they always are smart enough to know what they're doing is bad. Like it's never a mistake where you talk to them, you're like, oh, you're just not informed on the issues. They know the issues. They're like, they'll even tell you like, this is what the Democrats should have said. And I'm like, so wait, you just gonna let the Republicans have it? You know, we about to not have abortion. Like, how is like I can't let you off the hook in November if you lost the right the right to choice for a woman's body, and you were like, can't be bothered, man. I ain't going to the polls in November. Like, I have no sympathy.
Bro, that's the thing though about like where we're at, right? Like, I actually rewatched y'all ever still did Newsroom with Jeff Daniels, and he has that monologue at the beginning about America. And he turns to a liberal woman on the panel, and he's like, the reason why people hate liberals is because y'all lose. Right. And it's like, because we give up, like the whole Merrick Garland nomination thing, the fact that no one said to Mitch McConnell, yo, shut the fuck up, let him go through this nomination. Like, what are we doing? They're playing by a whole nother set of rules.
Well, that's the thing. They don't have the numbers to do the shit. Like, the thing that's always interesting is people think Republicans are winning on some, like, they just want it more. No, they have the numbers.
Yeah. They always make the numbers.
They do what?
Or say, they'll make the numbers with the
No, they have the numbers.
Yeah,
This is not like when they get shit passed or when they obstruct shit, it is always a matter of they have a certain amount of seats they need and they get them, and then they be like, we're never budging. And what used to happen was that like when you would see stuff like LBJ get shit passed and people go, LBJ, what a great president. Nigga had 68 senators. Like, of course he was great. You know who else would be great? Every motherfucking Democrat would be great if they had a fucking 18 point majority every time they went up to go fucking vote.
Of course.
So that's the thing. It's like mentally it starts to feel like, oh, they want it more. But I take it a step further. It's not the politicians, it's the fucking voters. Like when you say liberals lose, I'm like, liberal voters are the ones that give up. Not, like people think like Joe Biden gets to office and gives up. No, nigga, he gets there. He's like, these motherfuckers won't do what I'm saying because I don't have enough people. I need more people. And we're like, this nigga need more people. Oh God, I'm gonna just go ahead and let Republicans have it.
And that's what kills me. The reason why I said what I said was because a lot of times, because of gerrymandering and stuff, they fix it so that they can get these numbers. So they really don't have the numbers sometimes, but they rig the system where it's designed where they will never lose those seats.
And then, like, so this is a big one for me. After you lose Roe v. Wade, which is possibly coming this week, that we're gonna lose this. How do you justify 50-something% white women going up there and pulling that lever and being like, I want a Republican in charge? Like, and how is it not on them? Like, it's on Nancy Pelosi, but it's not on those white women that choose that. Is, you know what I'm saying? Like, to me, that's the part that's weird. Is like, I have a not conspiracy theory, but the way I view it right now is politicians are there for us as Americans to be able to coexist and not blame each other directly. So we go, oh no, it's fucking Barack Obama's fault. But really, it's the motherfucker right across from you who's like, I am going to vote so that your black ass loses rights. That dude is the problem, but it's easier for me to think, no, Mitch McConnell's the problem, or Lauren Boebert is the problem. The motherfuckers that keep voting for them is the problem too.
That's what they represent, right? They're just representing the people that we think should be better, right?
Yeah, even worse, they don't represent them. Like, that's even worse. Like, sometimes they represent them in like one area. Yeah. But then in every other area, they're fucking those people, right? Where it's like, listen, I'm gonna go up there, I'm gonna be as racist as you are. And they're like, all right, well, okay, I'm gonna vote for that. It's like, also, I'm taking your health care. Like, I'm raising the taxes. You know what I mean?
Yo, they're saying the quiet part out loud. Like, there was after the Roe v. Wade leak, a Republican, I forgot what state, Bladen was like, we definitely, like, with this decision, it gives us an opportunity to explore civil rights that some states may not agree with, give that back to the states. We might have to explore safe sex marriage. And they shut that motherfucker away. Like, they made sure he didn't do no more interviews because, like, shut the fuck up, nigga. Like, if you say that too loud, people will vote in November, hopefully. But that's not going to happen.
In the decision that leaked, that's what they had in there. In the majority opinion was like, this only applies to this one statute that's not in the Constitution. Everything else is safe. And you're like, but y'all said that shit when y'all was running for when y'all were going through the hearings.
Right. And the thing is, we don't believe you. And the thing is, the people that complain the loudest, particularly a lot of liberals and a lot of
because we have the numbers.
I don't vote niggas. Like, I'm talking about this particular group of people. They're the loudest, and they are the ones where the things that they demand aren't getting done. And instead of them doing something and putting people in the office that would get the shit done that they want done, a lot of them would rather leave and do nothing. Well, and no problem. And me personally, for a percentage of them, I think that they just like not doing shit so they can complain. Because if you were really sick and tired of being sick and tired, you would get your ass in the motherfucking booth. And the complaining, my thing, I'm about actions. Maybe it's my generation. I don't give a fuck about your feelings. I'm about actions. I want to win. I want shit done. You complaining gets not a motherfucking thing done. It does not get an extra vote, nothing. I don't give a fuck about your goddamn complaining. I want results.
Well, also, like, Republicans lost on certain issues for 50 years. to get the win. That we don't have that kind of resolve. Like that's the difference. Like the people that got that are about to get Roe v. Wade overturned have been fighting since the day Roe v. Wade became like law. Our side is very much like Biden. It's been 6 months. Okay, I don't know what the fuck your problem is.
Because people don't understand how government works. People don't understand how government works. That's the thing is like y'all like people don't understand with the Supreme Court now. If big shit like gets to their desk, we could be really fought because you don't easily overturn Supreme Court laws.
Right. And it's about and like one thing a lot of people haven't noticed, right? When they knock Biden, he's had several things that he's like written executive orders for overturned by the Supreme Court now.
Right.
So even this whole like Joe Biden can just write executive orders, like I don't think y'all understand. We've been fucked since 2016 when people set the shit up because this Supreme Court ain't doing that. Like even if he does say everybody got $50,000 off your student loans, it'll be in Supreme Court in a couple months, and then a motherfucker gonna be like, actually no, fuck that shit. Y'all better pay them loans.
What's crazy about the Supreme Court is even the like corruption and the bad actors, nothing happens to them. Clarence Thomas, every week I feel like we find out more and more about how his wife was involved in the coup in January. Like, she was emailing motherfuckers the day of saying like we need to like silence Arizona, find these votes, blah blah blah. I'm like, she's the wife of a Supreme Court justice. Like at the very least, he should be on like administrative leave for a full investigation by the DOJ.
And he won't recuse himself or anything like that. And then I know this is a big tangent. But
I want to fight that old nigga. I want to fight him. Like if I see him at an airport and he's sitting, I'm gonna pee in the cup and I'm gonna pour it over his head. When he got
pneumonia. When he got pneumonia earlier this year, I was like, come on, pneumonia. Come on, baby. Do your thing.
We all were. There's very few people that we all like when someone like said they were sick like that or we found out. Yeah. We were just like, come on, Lord Jesus.
Come on now. It's like rolling some dice. Come on, baby. Baby need a new pair of shoes. Like I was trying to get him up out of here. That's how you know that thoughts and prayers don't work, because like I think everybody collectively had bad thoughts about this nigga and it did not happen. But we're so down bad that even if he were to have passed away right now and they got another justice in there, we still would be down in the Supreme Court. Like it is so important. So
and they wouldn't let him go through because Mitch McConnell's still fucking there. Even if that happened, he would be like, oh, it's election year, so like we're not going to do any.
The last thing, like I said, last thing on this I just wanted to say was I think, and this is just like a realization I've had in the last 2 years, really. I don't like the knocking of the messaging for Democrats because to me, it's a smoke and mirrors way of giving white people the benefit of the doubt. Because what we keep saying is, well, if they just would say it the right way, white people would understand that it's bad to be Republican. And I'm like, well, I understand. The person I'm talking to always understands. When are we gonna finally accept like these white people pick this and they cool with this? This is not a mistake that they keep having over and over. Democrats have not won the white vote since the fucking Civil Rights Act. Sure. That's 1968. Like the majority of white people have not voted for a Democrat since 1968. And yet I still keep feeling like everyone's going, if we just wrote the right speech, if they just had the right tweets, it's like, no, these white people don't like us. They not coming over here. We got the good white people that are coming, and that's all we gonna get. I don't know what we're gonna do after this, but stop waiting on them to come out of the fucking portal like the end game and shit.
Speaking of white people, I mentioned this in Three Guys On that we were on this past weekend. People like white people especially keep talking about a race war happening in 2024. It's like they clearly want that. They clearly want that. Especially white podcasters like Joe Rogan. They keep talking about it. But I think we're gonna have a race. I genuinely think we're gonna have a race war in the next 15 to 18 years. Because with all the schools taking out this critical race theory shit, which is just talking about the civil rights and like it's talking about race and homosexuality, but they just like they're saying it's under critical race theory because these motherfuckers don't even know what that is or can spell it. And then their kids They're white kids are going to go through these schools ignorant as fuck.
Right.
And they're going to go somewhere, whether it's on a vacation, maybe to Orlando, Florida, Disney World, or they're going to go to New York City, some shit. They're going to be around some black people and say some crazy shit, and they're going to catch these hands. And so that's what's going to start an uprising, because there's going to be so many confrontations. Because at that point, Rod, like to your point earlier, we will have to hold people directly more accountable because they're saying wild shit because they're ignorant. They didn't get the education.
I will say this. I think the erosion of faith in institutions, faith in the people you vote for and all that stuff, I think that will lead to something happening on a more personal level in the streets. But honestly, I think in a lot of ways it's already happening. We just aren't calling it a war or whatever. But when you see people with an AR-15 shooting up a black supermarket, that's a war to me.
Yes.
You know what I mean? When you see what Dylan Roof did, that's a war. That's like a war crime, but it's a war. He decided that culturally these black people are a threat and I'm going to go kill them. And our side ain't really got guns like that. And we don't have all these rights and privileges and entitlement like that to where you're going to have some equal and opposite shit where you got a bunch of black people with AR-15s shooting up white schools and white groceries. We don't have that because our side they're not like them. You know, we didn't colonize another country and kill all the people there. Like, we don't have that in our DNA that way. And it's so ironic that that's the threat that they're afraid of, is that chickens coming home to roost and that black people are somewhere mobilizing and organizing to be white, but we're not, you know?
No, we're not organized to be white. We're organized to be able to live our lives in peace. Yeah. You know what I mean?
It's the reason they beat up Black Lives Matter protesters and they move out of the way of the January 6th people, because they like, these niggas might have guns. It's like, I'm gonna just run up the stairs and hope they don't kill me.
Right. The police scared of them guns. They know we don't have them most of the time, so that's why they do us like that.
Speaking of our very new segment, which I like to call "We Ain't Got It," we broke. We ain't got it. Experts warn of olive oil shortage due to bacteria COVID-19 in the Ukraine war.
Oh,
not the olive oil.
I mean, I got plenty of olive oil stored already, so I think I'll be good for at least. I think I'll be good for at least 2 weeks.
I was gonna say my man Brandon about to be the plug over there.
No, you ain't gonna get my olive oil. That's with my pasta and my steaks. Fuck
it's gonna be bad when motherfuckers sticking up people for olive oil. You know,
hey man,
give us the oil, nigga.
Let me get some of that extra virgin. I'll suck your dick, man.
I just want to pan fry something.
Give it up, shorty. You start pulling out your wallet. Not the wallet, nigga. Give me the goddamn olive oil.
I can't make my favorite dressing.
Yeah. I mean, I'm on grapeseed oil now, but I'm just saying it's
how does that taste? Avocado oil would be good, but grapeseed is good.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah,
it has a higher smoke factor.
Yeah.
Oh, that may not be good for here. I got this little stove in the studio apartment. I don't want to be.
No. Which means it don't smoke. Which means you could like turn.
Oh, I thought you said smoky. Okay. Ooh,
because olive oil has a low smoke factor. That's why most people just use it in dress. A lot of people got mad because they was like Cook Food Network and all that stuff. They call EVOO, and they was like they should have never pushed that because so many people are buying it, then they frying it on these high temperatures and be like, why my house smoking? You need to actually use a oil that has a higher smoke temperature.
Netflix and Monique reach a settlement in discrimination retaliation lawsuit. The terms of the deal weren't disclosed, but apparently they settled with her over the alleged gender and racial bias when it came to her stand-up special. So she won.
Yeah, and she gonna tell everybody about it too.
That's the contract she should have been talking about. What'd you think about that? You from Detroit? Like that was in your hometown, man. What'd you think about all that craziness?
I mean, I think it was weird seeing both of them beefing like that, and then all the other people, like Steve Harvey and them, commenting and everything. My understanding is, like, I think Monique's hilarious. I also thought Precious. I was floored by her performance. I was like, I didn't know she had it in her to do that. Like, that's phenomenal. But I have heard a lot of stories from in Hollywood that she's not the easiest person to work with. That she's not the best collaborator, right? And in comedy with stuff like that, especially when you're all on the equal level of celebrity, you got to collaborate, right? And so if she had a different conscience than what DL had, a lot of people have been like, yeah, it's the promoter or the producer. That's the person you should be beefing with, not DL. Because if in his contract by his agency, he says he's a headliner, and in your contract from your management company says you're a headliner, that's a miscommunication with somebody else. That's not with the other talent, right?
Especially when your manager is like your husband and the contract is written up on y'all's printer. Like that feels like because you don't want to blame that nigga, you going and blaming somebody else. You know what I mean? Where it's like, hey man, I keep noticing one of the patterns in my career is when you seem to be managing shit, it be fucked up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but nah, I thought when I first heard it, I was like, all right, maybe she knows something we don't. Let's hear her out. But as it went on and it got more and more about personal attacks to D.L. Hewley and his family,
based on what I've seen at comedy shows, especially when it comes to like middle or headliner, things like that. But this is like a big show. There's like a lot of comics on the show, my understanding, right? Mm-hmm. Is that DL probably like, because he's like, got a big ego. He was like, no, Monique, I get what you're saying, but like, I'm not opening for anybody. I'm closing the show. And because of the star power and probably whoever was producing the show, they were like, we rather DL do his set than Monique not do her set and drop out. Because it was essentially like a staring match, right? It was like, who's going to blink?
Well, I don't know if you ever watched any of the videos. Did you watch any of the videos they put out?
I watched a little bit of the Monique video, yeah.
Okay, well, when DL dropped a couple of videos, but the thing that was really like that completely changed everything for me. One, Monique dropped like her second video, said that she had planned to do this the whole time, which was fucking bananas to me. Like to be like before this even like that night you had decided like I'm coming for this nigga. And then the second one was D.L. Hewley had dropped a video and he was like, she never talked to me. Like she never came back to my dressing room. She never asked me anything. She went on that stage and just eviscerated me.
That is the promoter did that. The promoter was probably in between or whatever, and they didn't do right by either one of them.
Right. It's still weird if that's the case, right? It's still weird that she wouldn't have said it's on the promoter. You know what I'm saying? Because like the way she made it sound was like she talked to him or requested something. And he was like, fuck that. It's like when he's like, she never even told me she had a problem. And then next thing you know, I'm bam on stage going, okay, she just tried to burn my set down before it's my turn. It's hard to, support that. But once again, I think she's funny as well. And I still thought that Netflix thing seemed to stumble onto something bigger, which
it was valid. It was a valid
discrepancy. And while I didn't think it, like, a lot of black people got really disrespectful about Amy Schumer, like when they were acting like she's no big deal and shit. And I was like, okay, niggas, just because y'all don't watch her stand up does not mean that woman's not a fucking stand up who demands millions of dollars. Right. Like she is that girl.
It was an important thing for her to raise because, like I am curious about like the offers that black artists get compared to white artists, especially for something like streaming like Netflix. Because I think about the comedy scene, right? Earthquake had to get Dave Chappelle to co-sign him to get a half-hour Netflix special. Right. If you've ever seen Earthquake, he is one of the funniest people on the planet. I don't know if he's in my Mount Rushmore, but he's definitely in my top 10.
Right.
I like the guy, Chris Stefano. He's a funny New York comedian. Just recorded his special, didn't know who was going to buy it, and then Netflix out of nowhere is just like, yeah, we want it. And he's like, well, I'm not going to edit anything. You have to take it as it is. Netflix is like, cool. And it sounds like he got paid a pretty good penny. Mm-hmm. And that's just him and his reps. That's not being endorsed by Bill Burr or any other big comedian. And I'm like, yo, and I bet you he made more than Earthquake did for his special.
Yeah, well, they clearly settled for a reason, right? Like they like at some point it became probably easier to pay her and not have to go through a messy court trial where you look at all the documents and actually go through there and be like, well, they paid this black person this much, they paid this white person this much. And then to see the metrics of like what the actual numbers are for how many people watched what, which would probably, that would be probably where they're most nervous is if you do pay Amy Schumer $5 million, but you offer Monique $500,000, but Amy Schumer's numbers aren't 10 times what Monique's was, then it does become like this bigger issue. And I'm sure they don't want to go through all that because some of that shit is out of their control. Like they can't make people watch something, but you do determine what you pay people. So yeah, I definitely because like I said, that was one of those things where like I was like, I could see Monique's point, and definitely thought she was making good points. I thought, obviously boycott Netflix or they should pay me as much as Amy Schumer or something was kind of like, okay, that's not gonna happen. But
demanding more is
but I understand the point, and I
Mm-hmm.
thought a lot of people kind of just turned on her for even daring to say that, and like
because it was her.
Wanda Sykes even came out at that time and was like, yeah, they lowballed me, and I had to take my special to another company. Like that's another black woman saying the same story, but she just didn't make as big of a issue out of it. Jerrod Carmichael is talking about Dave Chappelle. He said, your legacy is a bunch of opinions on trans shit. It's an odd hill to die on. It was a new yeah.
I agree. Like, nigga, you're so funny. Why you keep talking about this? I thought you were done. Like,
yeah, bro. Honestly,
something was weird there. Something's weird.
This has been
fighting with the internet.
As a fan of that dude, and I mean, I was a huge fan. Like
we saw
him so many times live. This is before even he had Chappelle show. I just thought he was. Yeah, I loved Half Baked, and I
like
just
killing him softly and stuff. Like you.
Yeah, I love Half Baked.
Several times.
It might even been before Kill Him Softly. I remember his 30-minute HBO special.
Okay,
which I thought fucking genius. You know what I mean?
His whole bit in Killing Me Softly about sprinkling the crack on the people.
Yeah. I
sprinkle some crack on him.
He's one of the few comedians I know his stand up almost verbatim. You know what I mean? Or I used to know it. And one of my favorite jokes is the one about Black Santa Claus, where he said, I caught myself being racist against myself because I didn't want a Black Santa Claus. But yeah, like he just has so many great jokes and stuff, but I thought he was like a genius level comedian. And I mean, to some extent, I guess I still do. It's not like I'm like, he's not a genius, and you can't revoke somebody's genius. I thought the nigga was a genius, but his ego, and this happens with a lot of comedians, his ego and the internet, social media, it's like a clash. And once those two groups of egomaniacs clash, like
it is
the narcissism of the internet, who's like, I don't even go to your comedy show, but your comedy show need to address my concerns. And then the narcissism of comedians who are like, is this an attack on freedom of speech that you didn't like my joke?
Yeah,
it's like this nigga got the ultimate stuck. Like he's been stuck. Like the first time he did his special coming back, and there was like maybe 5 minutes of stuff about trans people, and it was him doing the like, it's just like white men or something, or and it was like, but it was passing. It was like 5 minutes later he was back on something else, and it was like, all right, well, I thought those jokes were a little off, but not terrible, but just like, he doesn't seem to understand that issue. Nigga, it's been like 4 specials since then.
And every one it gets longer and longer and longer.
This is the thing about the past few years. I feel like creatives are just trolling shit that people complain about, right? Like they just double down on it, right? Like so for Chappelle, it's like people were complaining about those jokes. He's like, cool, I'm just gonna keep adding more and more. And because I'm a genius, because everyone keeps calling me a genius, which he is a comedic genius, but I'm sure other people are constantly they're like, you can do no wrong, everything you do is gold. He's like, I can make these topics funny. I can make everyone laugh at them. And then when he gets the feedback that like people are like, no, we're not liking these. He's like, all right, I'm gonna try it again. I'm gonna do even more.
And like the defense of him is that he's Dave Chappelle, right? Like it's never a defense of like, no, these jokes are just funny and everyone would think they were funny. And you don't even see people repeat the jokes, which is one of the big tells that they don't think it's that good.
Right.
Because like if you said, Rod, why do you think Killing Me Softly is funny? I can name like 5 different jokes where it wouldn't do it justice, but I'll start repeating the premise like, nigga, he was crying when the cops called, man. He was like, like, so I got all this shit, oh, it was a baby selling crack on the corner. Like, but when people say these new ones are genius, you're like, so what's the joke? That they're never like, remember when he said being trans is like being Chinese? He did a really bad Chinese accent. They never repeat the shit because they know that it's more about defending him as a man and as an icon, as an entertainer, than it is about defending the material at this point.
Right, because I can tell, because I enjoy comedy. So for me, I'm like, Roger, when you ask people about it, and like you say, it's more defending him versus what the special is. I'm like, well, the special must not be good because you talk about everything but the special itself.
He said, Chappelle, do you know what comes up when you Google your name, bro? That's the legacy. Your legacy is a bunch of opinions on trans shit. It's an eye hill to die on. And it's like, hey, bro, who the fuck are you? Who do you fuck? What do you like to do? Childish jokes aside, who the fuck are you? It's just kind of played, but he's chosen to down this hill. So all right, let's let him. Yeah, I think that's another thing too. Is this kind of shit signals like a point of like people that don't want to be too introspective. Because I think as you get older and as people's comedy, like the thing that separates comedians becomes the fact that they start talking about what's really personal to them. And that's what makes your comedy unique. Is like, this is my life. Let me tell y'all some things that are happening in my life. And I think Chappelle's kind of old school in that he wants to be like Bugs Bunny. You know what I'm saying? Where it's like, I'm the guy.
He ain't got not much going on personally. So he's like, let me talk about trans people for some reason. But
like he wants to up the difficulty level.
Have y'all ever heard? Okay, and this is allegedly. I don't want y'all to get sued, but I remember back in the day during Chappelle's show, hearing that he would be like seen in a lot of gay clubs, like a lot of gay nightclubs in New York City, and I'm like, so what happened? Like, if he was like embracing that community between now and then, like, what the fuck is his problem? Like, and that's the thing is,
I don't even think he sees it as a problem with the community. He sees it as a power structure between white people who run media and him, an artist that thinks he should be able to talk about everything.
Well, it's also, and this is one point that I do kind of get, but at the same time, like, you spend too much screen time on this topic. When he talked about how aggressive the LGBTQ community is about the pronouns and everything, and how upset they get. He's like, Black people had to fight for tens of years just to be called nigger anymore, right? And so I see that resentment because I get a lot of that old school resentment, especially like in the gay community, like with older gay people in my life that are like, yeah, I couldn't be flamboyant and out like these young gay people are these days because I would get beat up. I would get beat to an inch of my life, and I think that's one thing I kind of understand why he's going at it, but at the same time,
but it's like a sleight of hand, right? Yeah. Because like he uses when he says it that way, what he's saying is that LGBTQ people are basically white people, and that Black people, there's no intersection, there's no whatever. Like y'all niggas is cool, but the LGBTQ man as a whole, that movement is white people. It's just white men telling me, a Black man, what I can and cannot say, and it's like it's a real sleight of hand. But mostly, the thing I wanted to say was, it is getting to that point where I don't remember his bits and his jokes. I remember the controversy, and I think Jerrod has a point, which is, the legacy he's going to end up leaving behind is going to be this now. Maybe he course corrects or something, but I can't imagine him ever course correcting, because he's so dug in. I really do think like it'll go from like Chappelle's show is going to be like, if you're of a certain age, you'll be like, oh yeah, Chappelle's show. That's what I know him from. But there's going to be a shit ton of kids and stuff now that just go, I just know him as the comedian everyone thinks is a bigot.
Correct. And that's all they're going to know about him.
Yeah. And it's probably people like, I'm not saying Chappelle, but like comments like the stuff that Chappelle would say and the acceptance that he would see that probably caused Jerrod to be in the closet for so long and be so private about his stuff. I mean, I remember I saw him live in Brooklyn before the special came out. And during his set, he was like, oh yeah, I'm gay, by the way. And I was like, good for you. But I'm also like, that's a weird way to like do that because like, he's had so many specials or whatever. I'm like, I wonder what prompted him to do it now. And like, it's just like, he's been dealing with so much family stuff that you see in the special, which I didn't think was that funny, but I thought it was a beautiful piece of work because it's essentially like his testimonial to like, this is what's going on in my life. This is who I am. And I thought it was really beautiful. So for him to use his clout to say that stuff about Chappelle, who in the comedy world is like God, that's very brave for him. Because I think he should say that.
And I remember him and Earthquake, and I feel like this. I feel like there are two different car rides. His will take you slowly across the country where you're seeing all the scenic route, and you're going, oh, the mountains are beautiful. Oh, look at the flowers, because it's like a slow, long journey, but you're going to enjoy the ride. And Earthquake is like, nigga, I'm trying to get you there as quick as possible.
So you watch Rothaniel, Karen? You watch Rothaniel?
Not all of it, but I did watch some of it.
Yeah, I thought it was good. It wasn't like a traditional stand-up, but it still was good. I thought it was still funny too. It just the goal wasn't to like.
It was mad personal. It was mad. Like, I don't know if it was like ADR with the audience questions or if it was real people asking them questions. Like there'd be moments where he paused and then like someone would be like, "Well, what did you say to your mom?" And it's like, "Yo, like and he's like going off with it. And he's like telling the story, and I'm like, either this is great performance art or this is like him literally revealing his soul.
Yeah, I thought it was really well done. And I think it's just like a different type of special. I think the fact that it was directed by Bo Burnham really puts it all together, because Bo Burnham, I think Inside was amazing.
Fucking
it was beautiful. But it was also not really stand up, you know what I mean? But it was
one of the funniest things. Crazy.
Yeah. It's like one of the funniest things I saw that year, if not the best funny thing. But it was like, it's not stand up anymore.
It's stand up, not stand up.
But here's the thing. Can't really say nothing bad about Jerrod, because on the low, Dave stopped doing stand up.
Yes, like, I'm like, nigga, get a podcast.
Like a lot of this shit not stand up no more. Like I'm not saying the specials on Netflix aren't stand up, but like he's like, ever since he did that the George Floyd thing, like the thing, then he did the one where he talks about like his contract with Comedy Central. There's not jokes in there anymore. That's just him talking.
Right, just your thoughts.
So I think the art form is kind of becoming looser as far as whatever we consider stand up or on stage presentation.
And maybe I'm an old fossil, but I'm like, nigga, I came to laugh. Like I like comedy is an escape.
Well, I'm gonna be honest. I'm open to anything, because Rothaniel's not necessarily funny, but I thought it was really good.
Yes, remember Rod said that, Karen, that he's open to anything.
Yeah, I'm open to any of these. Once you get on stage, I'm willing for you to just show me whatever kind of like act you have, and then I'll judge from there if I thought it was good.
And I can understand that. And my thing is, I'm fine with the way that Carmichael, like I said, I need to finish watching it, but the way he presented his is different versus I feel like Chappelle is just coming up there with a mic in his hand, like two niggas just talking, and you're like, get a podcast. Like,
right, but here's the thing: when he does his stand-up, it's not like that. There's just these other things he's been doing on Instagram and shit. That's just these black and white, 15-minute long.
Okay,
the thing about George Floyd,
about the same thing.
We're not. Yeah, George Floyd thing that he did, I thought it was really powerful and well done and shit, but it was also not stand-up.
It's not stand-up.
Yeah, you chuckle a couple times, because you know he's a funny nigga, but it's not stand up. But anyway, I do think he thinks his legacy is gonna be just like I stood up for black people shit, and I think that's not how this shit is gonna go down at all. It's gonna be like you just kept attacking trans people on stage, or you know, maybe attack's too big a word for some people, but that's how I think his legacy is gonna become for Chappelle.
Agreed, because Chappelle's show is like 20 or pushing over 20 years old. So you're talking about like a whole generation to go, who is this nigga? Who is this old man that everybody keeps talking about?
Yeah, because if you show young people the Chappelle show, it's not really that funny to them. Like even the Rick James stuff, they're like I don't know who Rick James is.
Right.
Yeah. Saucy Santana blames the Beehive for trying to ruin him over old tweets about Beyonce and Blue Ivy. The gay rapper went on a Twitter tirade Friday ahead of his concert in Queen Bee's hometown of Houston, Texas, lashing out because the singer's fervent fan base wouldn't let him forget about his controversial tweets from 2014. At the time, he called the then 2-year-old Blue Ivy nappy-headed and claimed he was prettier than her famous mom. And though he since deleted all the offensive tweets from his timeline, screenshots have been making the rounds on the social platform. Someone said
yo, how's he still have a career? Like Carrie Hilson said some shit about Beyonce years ago, and she ain't been around ever since.
I think people didn't know, and this is kind of that the new thing where he had a song, I think something called Booty or some shit that came out that sampled Beyonce, and it became like his first.
That's how I found him out through TikTok, because I just thought it was a TikTok star. I didn't realize he was a rapper.
So it became one of his first real like hit. For a lot of people, he ended up being named at XXL's 2022 freshman class and stuff. So like, it was like, oh, finally he's getting his due, because he's kind of had like a following from social media and stuff. And then of course people went and found his old tweets. And some of these, this is from 2014. Someone said, I just want to be Blue Ivy, and then he quote tweeted it and said nappy headed or side eye emoji.
Yeah, it's a lot of people that owe Blue Ivy an apology, because I remember how they talked so bad about that. I was like, that is terrible. A child. What is wrong with you people?
It was like Chelsea Clinton like type of like picking on a kid. Shit. Because I remember in the night, like people used to like say some foul shit about her, and I'm like, she's a kid.
Just a kid.
I'm sorry, but Northwest clears Blue Ivy have several car seats blue, said somebody. And then he said, just said this yesterday. I never had insecurities. I wouldn't give a fuck if Beyonce was standing next to me. I'll still think I'm prettier than her. I don't really know why that's a problem.
Okay.
Someone said Beyonce with that motherfucking pregnancy glow, and he said she looked dry to me. So that's the thing. They're clearly looking at his old tweets because of this.
I mean, sometimes shit boomerang back, man. You never know what you say and how it could come back.
It's funny because like two of the tweets really weren't that bad or had nothing to do with anything, but they're like, you know, obviously two of them were pretty bad. He was 20 at the time, for those that want to know how old he was, which I know people are going to act like 20 is like, no, like, oh my God, it's so old. But honestly, 20 is young enough for me to be like, yeah, you do stupid shit at 20. And he obviously didn't have the followers or the traction he has now. So like a lot of people, if not everybody with a Twitter account that tweets a lot, definitely said some shit before they had followers.
Oh yeah. If motherfuckers find my old MySpace, my career's over.
Exactly. Like
it's over.
I don't even pretend to try to be above this. I wasn't saying, I might not have said this, but there's some level of recklessness I guarantee I said.
You say some spicy stuff, Rod. You say some.
I remember one time I was at work and I was on my break, and Sarah J, the porn star, followed me on Twitter. And I just had 15 minutes of just jokes based on Sarah J, where I was like, Sarah J's led more black men to the promised land than MLK or some shit. And it was just all just stupid shit like that. To me, it was just funny. You go back to work, it doesn't matter, because I had like 100 followers. But now if I did that in 2022, somebody would be like, this is anti-black, or so it would be something like that would be a problem with that same level of joke, you know? But yeah, so what I thought was interesting though was Saucy Santana's tweets about this. Fake woke ass bitches.
Oh, okay. Okay, tell them what you really think.
People don't care about old tweets. The internet had this weird thing with power, thinking they have power to cancel someone. Newsflash, you don't. Y'all be thinking y'all have someone by the balls about situations you don't give a damn about. Celebrities are human, not robots, and they for damn sure ain't perfect. I still talk about a bitch like a dog to this day. Not publicly, because my opinion matters to a lot of people now. I be chilling. I don't even insert myself in shit that don't involve me. Stop all that cap trying to ruin people's careers because you at home miserable and broke. I was miserable and broke too, making childish, hateful tweets in 2014. I'm 28 years old, a grown-ass adult, a completely different mindset on the life from when I was 20, but y'all knew that. It be people in the comments trying to force you to apologize and say sorry. To who? To y'all? If I did something to offend someone, I should apologize to them, not you bitches. Told y'all y'all think y'all got power over people, but go ahead. And then someone said, I wonder what Saucy Santana got to say about Blue Ivy now. And he said, beautiful hair serving, heart eyes emoji.
I mean, I told y'all, motherfuckers are just doubling down now. They're like, I'm not even
tired of y'all.
He did like a quick, like, I was young, and so I said some stupid shit, but it was like in the middle of all that vitriol. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Everybody, I tell people, everybody is not going to be, like I say, diplomatic like Lizzo. You know, you're going to have some people that going to look at y'all and be like, I'm not doing it. I said what I said, and they just going to keep on pushing. You know, everybody doesn't care.
Was anyone else like a... Oh, sorry, Rob.
I was going to say, I'm not even going to lie. There's something about that I was like, yeah, that's about right. Because, like, I kind of hate the fake. I'm sorry, but you really just sorry you got caught.
Right.
It's such bullshit, and you're really doing it to please the internet, which honestly, them niggas don't really control shit. But then two, like, you're doing it to a group of people that are not gonna accept that apology. Like if I had ever seen people really accept somebody's apology that they didn't like, I think I would feel differently. But we've been doing this show for almost 13 years. I don't have not one example of somebody apologizing and people being like, you know what, let's move on.
It's never
they said
enough.
They were sorry. They, it's the only time we do that is if we already like you, right? If we like, if I fuck with you and Cardi B comes out and says I'm sorry for the colorism, then we go, okay, Cardi B. Or if it's Doja Cat who keeps making hot albums, all of a sudden niggas done forgot. That's fine. But it is bullshit. Like they like, it's not like I accidentally said when Doja Cat said that called black people didn't do nothing, meaning when the cops kill you, you always say you didn't do nothing. It's like a right-wing, alt-right troll, racist joke. People have let that slide, and it's basically just because like she kept making hot music. This will probably slide. And well, I mean, to be honest though, dog, I want to make this distinction with her for sure. It wasn't black men that were making her popular or famous. Like it wasn't us. Like she's fine and all that shit, but it's a bunch of fine canceled women. It was like for some reason black women started fucking with her music and let it go. Just like that, she be in everybody's videos, people fuck with her and listen to her. I'm not even saying they're wrong for that. I honestly think I listen to a bunch of people that are problematic all the time.
Yes, I do.
And I don't be concerned how other people feel about it.
Well, because you got to be undeniable. And there are a lot of people that are undeniably talented, right? I think the thing that you were talking about with Chappelle is that, he was undeniable in regards to comedy, but because he is kind of stepped back from doing straight comedy for so long, it's like, he's deniable now. Like he's we can shut him down.
Like someone in the chat is saying like we did trying to say like black women ain't got nothing to do with Doja Cat being back, like not canceled. It wasn't niggas, man. It like Chloe and Halle, City Girls, Ari Lennox, like these people, like she heavy in the black woman, like Sweetie, like
you see online a lot of black women.
Well, I'm saying these are people she collabs with, like Lil Nas X. Like people don't really give a fuck about that shit she said. Like her peers are working with her because they're just like she hot, and like I said, I'm not even trying to make it into just like a y'all should be ashamed. I'm saying welcome to the club. Niggas do this all the time. It's so many niggas that are problematic and they just keep working. And in a weird way, it's kind of a level of equality in the game that a black woman could do something fucked up and just keep working through it. Where it's just like, yeah, she did that, but I mean, hey, you heard that new song? That shit is hot.
I mean, Felicia Rashad, think about it. She said that crazy shit about Cosby when he got released.
Yes.
And people were just like, all right, let's just pretend like you didn't say that so you can keep doing this shit.
Yeah, I'm not even saying it's good or bad. Just this is what I've noticed is like, we done got to a level where it's like a black woman can fuck up royally and continue to work. That didn't used to happen. Ask Chrisette Michelle. You know what I mean? Like, it used to be like, oh, you fucked up. You got to go away for a while. Like now everybody's like, no, girl, come get on this track. Don't listen to them.
I think it was like Trump and people was like, nope.
But that being said, like, I think even though he said it in a Saucy Santana way, I don't think what he said, the core of it was wrong at all. If he needs to apologize, it's probably the Blue Ivy and Beyonce. The people on the internet actually don't really matter. And they do this to everybody. And I don't know why people think that shit is like okay. Like it's kind of fucked up that like you root for somebody, you wait for them to get on, and then you go root through their old shit. It's such a weird thing that people are doing each other. And I can see how people are so fed up with it that they're like, yeah, I'm just done doing a fake apology that y'all ain't gonna accept. And then the next time I make any mistake, y'all gonna bring this shit up. Or the next time I get an award, y'all gonna bring this shit up. I can't let y'all have this over me for the rest of my life.
Agreed.
Yeah, that's fair. I think, I remember Shane Gillis with the, notorious SNL thing. He said that like the studio wanted him to issue an apology. He's like, yeah, I'll apologize, but y'all trying to make me apologize for like trying to be funny and I don't want to do that. I apologize if someone was offended by it. And they were like, well, we need you to put out the statement, and then we'll discuss whether or not you'll stay on the show. And he's like, I'm not even guaranteed to keep my spot on the show. No, I'm just going to do this my own way. Then and he he was like, it is what it is. And as a comedian, I respect that because it's like, I thought the joke was absolutely terrible and offensive.
Right. Yeah.
But it's like, I respect like not apologizing for something that you genuinely were just, you had this intention, right? Like there's been people on Twitter that have been like, Brandon, I can't believe you said this on this episode of Media Popcorn. I'm like, I'm sorry you took it that way. Like I never intend to hurt anybody. I just try to be goofy and silly. And sometimes I say some wild shit.
This shit ain't scripted.
People
it's the
like
attempt.
Yeah,
it's the attempt that you're trying to do, and it does. That's the thing that separates the good from the bad. It is honestly how a lot of people learn. It's like I learned what was funny by what was not funny. And the other thing I'll say too, Shane Gillis is such a great example because I remember seeing a clip of him on Joe Rogan's podcast, and Joe Rogan was giving him the it's a shame how they do, with this cancel culture and these white guys. We got it bad. And Shane Gillis was like, no, we don't. It worked out fine for me. I was wrong. Or, I get why they didn't want to have me on the show. It wouldn't have made sense. They just hired Bowen Yang, the first Asian dude. I shouldn't even be on the same, project as him if that I'm making those kind of jokes. And it worked out. I became a YouTube guy. I get paid to do my comedy. I'm fine, Joe. Don't need the crocodile tears.
Yeah, it's wild because apparently Shane does feel like that with his career. He feels like he's in a really good place, but he doesn't like when people are like, "Oh, you're better off without SNL." He's like, "I mean, I still got SNL. Don't." Yeah, it hurts. It still hurts.
That conversation was so refreshing because it wasn't like bullshit either way. Because so many of these white dudes, when they fuck up, they just lean so hard into I'm the real victim, bro. Listen. A white man can't say anything right now, and you're like, "Oh God, you're the new niggas." Is that what you want me to believe?
That's what they want.
And I don't believe you. And it's also one of the things I think you might have said it yesterday or day before yesterday when you were saying how a lot of times, particularly with the internet, people get mad at the attempt. So if you do something and it doesn't go well, people that get mad because you attempted to try.
Yeah.
Versus they do nothing, say nothing, nobody knows them, and so they never do shit. So they can always hide behind, well, I don't do anything, so I can consistently criticize you because you're attempting to do something.
Yeah. Anyway, just listen. If I'm y'all, turn off, filter your mentions. That's what I do. You don't need to see what everybody got to think about it. It's not that important.
It's not.
I make a joke and I leave. Who gives a fuck?
Do you mute that shit in a heartbeat?
Yeah, it's gonna always be a nigga that don't get it. If I,
by the way,
go ahead.
Rod, I gotta give you your flowers, because you and Sarone Russell are the only people that consistently make me laugh with your tweets.
Yes,
y'all both are so funny.
Thank you,
when I'm having a bad day, sometimes I just pop up in a joke and I'll be like, God damn, Rod, why does he?
Yes,
how's he thinking of this shit?
Jerome is the best. Because he be talking about his kids and shit, and you just chuckle laughing reading his timeline.
That's how you know the industry's fucked. Because Sarone doesn't have a family sitcom.
Right.
It's such bullshit.
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I really at some point I realized one, I was sharing too much back in the day. I would look at my old Facebook memories and I really be shaking my head why did I tell people so much of my fucking business? I don't know what I was thinking. You know what I mean? It is not y'all's business. It's and then the other thing I think too is I want to be funny, and then if I just kind of concentrate on that, and I only say what I think is important or what I think is funny, it just makes the experience better. Because there's always somebody when you tell all your business, there's always somebody somewhere that ain't gonna get it.
Yes.
I could just say something as simple as man, some days you just wake up and you just don't feel like doing anything and you just want to stay in bed all day. And there will be someone that finds a way to make that malicious. You know what I mean? Where it's well, some people don't even have the ability to get out of bed, Rod. So maybe you should think about that.
Some people don't even have a bed. Have you ever thought about that?
Yeah. So stuff I realized why am I sharing that part? Here's what you came here for. Some jokes. The next Fast and Furious won't have cars in it. It's just gonna be niggas walking because gas is too high. And
Yeah, when I saw that, I was like, motherfucker.
yes, you know how it's supposed to be Fast X? It should be Fast BMX. It's just these niggas on bikes and shit. Like
on them huffies.
But yeah, I was just like, man, that's what'll make people. That's what they came here for anyway. And then every once in a while, I can't help myself, and I say something about politics, but increasingly scarce. All right, let's get into the last segment. Let's do some guest race, and then we'll wrap this up. All right, everybody.
Okay.
All right.
Shake it up, put it down.
Get my guest race music.
This time for guest race. This time for guest race. This time for guest race. This time for guest race.
All right, guess the race. The game we go around, guess the race of people involved in all kinds of stories, and chat room plays along. Today's contestants are Karen and Brandon from Drunk Black History, and of course, everyone playing is racist. All right, let's get into it. A woman has been charged with a felony after spitting on a corpse in a casket at a funeral home.
Oh,
wait, that's a felony?
First, it was that elephant from yesterday, and now this.
Ooh, they took that personally. I don't know what that woman did to that elephant, but,
Yo,
that elephant had beef.
Is that a felony though, for real?
Apparently, a Texas woman has been charged with a felony after spitting on a corpse at a funeral home during a viewing.
Want me to tell you why? Because so many people did it. They was like, stop this shit. Stop spitting on corpses. So they made a law.
It's interesting that it is a felony, but getting a gun and shooting up a school full of kids is just a misdemeanor in Texas. A lot of people don't know that.
Texas is so ass backwards, bro. They're out of their fucking minds out there.
You just get a fine for shooting up a school, but it's a felony if you
spit is more dangerous than a bullet, apparently.
Man,
yo, imagine you get like you're gonna tell the rest of the story, but imagine, right? The person that she spit on, the corpse, was someone who like assaulted her or violated them, right? Like, and then you get a charge with a felony. Like, you
get more time. You get more time than they got. According to the arrest affidavit, Laurie Lynn Hines, 51, walked into a funeral home in Tyler, Texas on November 29th, walked straight up to the casket and spit on the corpse. A witness on the scene said Hines had animosity towards the family of the person in the casket. Tyler police obtained a warrant for Hines' arrest on January 4th. She was arrested on June 5th. That's a 6-month run. That's a good.
Oh, I know this race. I know the race of this then.
All right, with the state felony abuse of corpse, she's posted $2,500 bond the next day. Karen, guess the race of Laurie Hines.
I'm going white.
All right, what about you, Brandon?
Oh yeah, once you said that little break and she was able to pay bail, I'm like, yeah, white.
Okay, yeah. 6 months is that's a good run. White, posted bond, white. Yep. Foamy white, some super white shit. Everyone's going white on this, and the correct answer is white. And I'll pull a picture up for y'all too. But y'all got it all correct. Good job, everybody. That's her. And she definitely looks like she was spit on a corpse.
Mm-hmm.
She got a good spit on, and also she looked like the kind of person that beefs with a whole family,
the entire family.
Like she looked like the kind of person
started a brawl up in there.
I hate those fucking McKillicuddies. I hate them. Like, oh, the whole family.
For 25 years.
All right, let's go to the next one. This is gonna take us down to everyone's favorite, Florida.
Oh,
a Jacksonville man has been charged with armed carjacking of a street sweeper after a muddy takedown in Flagler County.
Do you even know how to drive a street sweeper?
Well, he did get caught, so I'm gonna say no.
Apparently so, because I'm like, this ain't no car.
Wouldn't that be a low-speed chase? How fast can those things go?
Yeah, I mean, but
they brushing the streets.
But it's because they're wide, right? And they're like, you can't just like approach it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
No, that's true. Yeah. It's like that one documentary about the dude that had the like tractor that he outfitted with steel and guns and shit. And it's like he just fucking leveled a whole town. Have you seen it? It's on Netflix.
No.
Oh, Brandon, you would love it. I know you would fucking love this documentary. It was like an hour and a half. This white man went fucking cuckoo bananas. He was just like, you remember Office Space and the dude with the stapler? He was like that. He had that vibe to him, but then they like kept fucking with the zoning of his business and shit and his taxes. And he just was like, you know what? Close the garage door, went A-team on a fucking tractor, and just made it into like a bulldozing like machine and fucked up the whole fucking little town.
I remember watching that. He did.
What's the name
he was
of
having
this?
to kill that man.
Let me look it up, man.
He went bananas.
Yeah.
And everything they did, they couldn't get that shit to slow down for nothing.
It's called Tread. Tread. Tread.
He was batshit crazy.
And it's on Netflix. This is such a big ass. This is such a big ass aside from what we were talking about, but I now want to show you the trailer because I know Brendan just from listening to Brendan for years and knowing him. I know you'll love this. But this is the wrong trailer. Let me go back.
911, what's your emergency? Ask them to help us get a national guard unit, maybe with a helicopter to let's get all the ground down hard. You need a national guard
He was fucking up people's cars.
Hello.
Oh, that was the other thing. He recorded tapes of himself every day.
He did. I remember us watching it.
Rod knows me too well because he knows I like white madness. Just like Grizzly Man is one of the most funny things I've ever seen in my life. So this is right up that alley.
Like I know you always talk about like the whole like being a supervillain thing. Like this nigga really became a supervillain.
My name is Marvin Heemeyer.
He had a great reputation in the town. I mean, he was an outdoorsman. I didn't ever meet anybody who disliked him.
Marv had a knack for welding, working on engines and motors.
He was confident, and I thought he was handsome, and he was larger than life. But I didn't get that feeling that he was so angry. No one realized how distorted it was becoming to him.
I am making this tape for the task that I am about to undertake.
This nigga cut his hair off.
In Marv's mind, the town's not treating him fairly.
It's a kind of a community that in order for you to get ahead, you have to keep the neighbor down. Enough is enough. I'm not going to take it anymore.
Yes.
Looks like a tank. How do I stop?
Also, like in this tank, he put little like slits and shit where he could like aim a high-powered like 50 caliber weapon out of
and shoot,
but you couldn't shoot back in at him. Like this nigga was wild.
He was ready for him.
God expects me to do something to those who kept me from getting what I deserve. God's will be done through me.
Dog, that shit
He
is,
was fucking up cars. He was fucking up buildings.
that shit is heavy.
He-
We're definitely gonna review that.
Town.
We're
Yeah.
definitely reviewing that for Media Popcorn. Holy shit.
I'm gonna be on the Patreon. I'm gonna be listening to that day one when it drops.
Oh my God.
Because that y'all will love it. So back to this guy.
Yeah.
18-year-old Sterling Orlando Davis Jones got arrested after a 3-hour pursuit ended in a mud-filled ditch around 4:15 a.m. The police were notified. They were looking for an armed suspect described as a man wearing a gray hoodie with dark pants. Police say he was driving a stolen pickup truck used as a street sweeper that was taken during an armed carjacking in Daytona Beach. Flagler deputies say they spotted the vehicle and the driver got out and ran on foot. The driver, later identified as Davis Jones, was observed running down Point Pleasant Drive with what they said was believed to be a firearm in his hand. However, deputies lost sight of him. They say the search continued while K9 teams and Volusia County Sheriff's Air 1 responded to the area. And they found him around 7:30 a.m. when a resident said there was a male fitting the description walking into his backyard. They say Davis Jones was ultimately apprehended, and they tackled him to the ground. Both landed in a mud-filled ditch. They say one of the deputies sustained minor injuries during the apprehension and was treated and released from the Advent Health Palm Coast. He's expected to make a full recovery. And he flagged Davis Jones is facing charges in Flagler for 2 counts of resisting an officer without violence, providing false name to law enforcement, a violation of probation, and felony trespass on the construction site. The armed carjacking investigation has been turned over to Daytona police. Guess the race, Sterling Orlando Davis Jones.
I'm gonna go white.
All right. What about you, Brendan?
You know what? It might be a brother with that long ass name. And like, you said one of the deputies got injured. That means he was squirrely and shit. And only brothers can do that in the mud. So I think it might be a black man.
Brandon says it's a black man trying to get it out the mud. Kojo says white. Orlando Davis Jones, American guys, a Nazi black. That's a nigga name. All those names combined giving me Negro. Tackle that didn't just kill him white. Black. Daytona Beach method white. Gray hoodie and dark jeans. I'm going black. High achieving Negro. Talented 10th light bright. Serving and swerving black. That's a black ass name up to some white activity. White. All right. So Karen goes white. Brandon goes black. So we will get a departure. Someone will be leading after this. Someone will be down. He was black. You got it, Brandon.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not happy that a black man going to jail, but
well, you seem to be very happy. Karen, you get booed. All right. It's time.
I would take them boots. He got arrested before. I was like, he got arrested in the past and still out here committing crimes.
All right. Well, it's time to.
He got arrested for a fake name. Like, I'm DMX.
like, no, sir.
Y'all remember that? That's one probably the funniest celebrity stories is DMX pretending like he was an FBI agent.
Yes. Yes. You literally took the words out of my mouth, man.
Like,
oh my God.
You're DMX, right? Like, what are you doing?
People know who you are.
All right, let's get to the last one. Okay, it's the bonus round. Brandon is 2 for 2. Karen is 1 and 1. But everything in the bonus round is worth triple the points. So here we go.
What time is it? Triple the points. Triple the points. Triple the points. Triple the points. Triple the race. Triple the points. Triple the points. Triple the points, triple the race. Triple the race.
All right, let's keep it in Florida for the last one. Florida men steal nearly 1,100 gallons of diesel fuel from gas station. 2 men are being sought in Florida after they stole nearly 1,100 gallons of diesel fuel from a gas station earlier this month.
So much fuel.
The brazen theft occurred June 1st, about 28 miles south of Orlando. Throughout the afternoon, they're taking turns going to the pump number 3. I think it was a number of times over some hours. Officials say the stolen diesel was worth about $6,000. The suspects were each believed to be driving an older model white Ford F-250 pickup truck. Investigators believe both trucks had a large tank in its bed to store the stolen fuel. This is so funny because I remember a couple weeks ago we covered one of these guest arrays, and we wondered why they pulled this guy over because there was a guy who they said he had he looked like he was pumping fuel into the bed of his truck in the hidden compartment. And I was like, what the fuck? Is that even illegal? Why would that be illegal? Apparently motherfuckers are stealing it and using it to sell it.
Damn.
Authorities described both of the suspects and their vehicles were last seen at Narcosi Road. Fuel thieves have struck in other parts of the country as well. As the national average for fuel hit $5.014 cent on Wednesday, while diesel rose. All right, guess the race of these 2 men, Karen.
I'm gonna go black, and I know this got to be dangerous. I'm pretty sure eventually we're gonna find out people's blowing up and shit because that shit is flammable. And if you don't know what you're doing it or you got it in the wrong container, that could be going terribly wrong.
What about you, Brandon?
I'm going with white. I think it sounds like a trailer park version of the opening of Fast and Furious 4. Like that shit is weird, man. Yeah,
that's still a gas for their family.
Black people can find better ways to make some money real quick if we need to.
All right, let's check the chat room. No one noticed them stealing all that gas for hours. Nah, this is white. White got 5 on it. Black. Enterprising Brothers. White. Niggas don't know nothing about diesel except Shaq. White.
Oh no.
Freedom Black men. They sell propane and propane products. White. White. Propane accessories. The correct answer is, and everybody got it wrong, they're Hispanic.
Oh shit.
So everybody was wrong.
Well, I thought the shadows they had in the pictures, I thought they looked kind of black, but then they say the description earlier and later in the article where they say authorities describe both suspects as Hispanic males. So
they're probably Dominican.
Yeah. They're like, don't call me black. I got good hair.
Yep.
All right. Last thing, sword ratchetness. We'll be done. Sword ratchetness is where we go around and we find different articles that involve swords, and we tell y'all about the scourge that swords have and the lack of control that we have on them as a society. 2 charged accused of fighting a man with a sword. One man is in jail. Wait, is this a actual news article or is this just a
one of us where they just playing music?
Yeah, I don't know. Gotta wait 12 seconds for this ad. One man is in jail and another is still in the hospital after they were slashed with what police say was a samurai sword over the weekend. Yeah, that's not something you're expecting in a fight.
Youngstown appeared in municipal court this afternoon charged with assault. He and Terry Miller were hurt when police say they attacked a third man who pulled out a sword to defend himself. That person's not been charged with any crime. McDonald's bond was set at $5,000. Miller is still in the hospital.
Ooh, we got the rare sword crime that wasn't a crime. They just literally fucked with the wrong one.
Yeah, they did. He went to ninja class with your boy.
Yeah, they fucked with the nigga ninja. They were like, come off of that olive oil, bitch. He was like, I'm not giving you olive oil.
It's so haunting. I like her feet.
Brandon, tell them where to find you, man.
All right, y'all can follow me at American Collins on all social media platforms. If you are in the East Coast or you want to join us in the live stream, Drunk Black History on Saturday, June 18th at Chelsea Music Hall in New York City. We'll also be live streaming. You can get tickets at drunkblackhistory.com. We do have a DC show on Friday, June 17th. So if you already bought tickets, dope. We'll see you there. We will have a standby list, but it's sold out. It's tight. So I don't know if you'll get in, but New York, definitely you're guaranteed to either get a live stream ticket, and we still have in-person tickets available. So drunkblackhistory.com. And thank y'all as always for having me on the show. Appreciate you.
Anytime, bro.
We love having you on.
Yeah, we love having you on. One of our favorite people, and rooting for all your success and stuff. Can't wait to see when you get done working on Pootie Tang too. Definitely gonna be there first day opening night with my tickets, bro.
Oh man, I really am afraid of meeting somebody that I've shitted on their work. I'm really afraid, like, I'm gonna meet David Ayer and he's gonna be like, "Yeah, listen to your fucking review on all my movies. You don't like me, do you?" And I'm like,
I ever told you about the time I met Fonte Coleman, who's like literally one of my favorite rappers. We had Chris Lambert on the podcast, and we were talking about music, and he brought up Charity Starts at Home, which is Fonte's solo album, and I just told him how much I hated that album because it was so sad. Like, he had gotten divorced. He was talking about all his problems in his life, and he was just down bad. And I was like, I don't like that. I like when Fonte is just hitting me with the like lyrical miracle, shit, you know. Just thinking it's a conversation. This back when we had way less listeners than now. So fast forward a couple years, Chris Lambert is doing a stand-up opening for Chris Hardwick
in Raleigh.
Okay. We come out to see him. He invites us to see him, like gives us tickets. We get out there to see him. He does great. Afterwards, he's like, stick around, we'll go to dinner. We stick around. We're waiting. I'm looking around. I see, and Chris Hardwick did the interludes and or whatever skits on some of the minstrel show.
Yes, he did.
Which is just an amazing album that Little Brother made. And obviously Fonte is half of Little Brother, or a third, I guess. And so he shouts out that Fonte is in the audience, like 2 rows behind us. And I'm like, oh shit, that's Fonte. I love that dude. All right, so we're waiting for Chris. I look around, I notice Fonte and his woman are waiting. I'm like, huh? Wonder what they're waiting on. Chris finally comes out from backstage, invites us up, like, come on, man, we can go out and get something to eat. Fonte comes up to the stage too. And it's all like, oh yeah, oh, Fonte, this is Rod, this is Fonte, this is Karen, And I'm like, hey man, nice to meet you, man. He was like, oh, I know you. And I said,
like, excuse me?
I don't think so, Fonte. He was like, nah, I heard your podcast, man. Where you was I said, oh shit, you heard the Blackout Tips, bro. This is crazy. What a small world, blah, blah. Said, yeah, you were saying you didn't like my album. I was like, fuck. Sucked. But then we went out and had dinner. After that,
we had a great time.
It had a great dinner, and he's such a cool dude. Still check in with him every once in a while from that to this day. And we ended up bonding over how much we thought the writing was corny on the season of Sons of Anarchy that year. So we ended up, like, we always had this one joke where we talked about some writer wrote this line where there was a black woman that had natural hair, and it was a black dude that walked over to another black dude, and he went, yo, sister be kicking it with the real flow. And I said, black people don't talk like that. But like, we always had that joke, man. But yeah, thank you, Brandon. And I hope that doesn't happen to you. Or if it happens to you, I hope they're cool like Fonte was cool.
Oh, if it happens, I mean, you'll see me tweet about it, then you'll hear about it on the podcast. So
yes, sir. I'll be listening, man. All right, man. You have a good one, dude. And
thank you all.
Appreciate you. And we'll check out the show. We got to do our, speaking of which, if you're premium, we have our own movie review coming up for Top Gun. We just saw it today. So we'll be giving y'all our thoughts on the latest in that series. So all right, until next time, I love you.
I love you too.
Bye everybody. Sweetie. Bye Brandon.